I'm Eric.
And I'm Melissa.
Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to go over the highlights of my PlayStation collection. PlayStation 1. I got my first PlayStation right here in February of 1999. I had just moved to Oregon. I got my first real job. And I had been put up in a temporary apartment because none of my stuff had been moved out yet. And I was really bored one Saturday. Saw a car commercial on TV and thought, boy, it'd really be cool to play Gran Turismo. So I went out and I bought a PlayStation and Gran Turismo. At the time, the sticker's still on here. The PlayStation retailed for $129.99 and it was the DualShock version. And this is the actual one. I don't play this one anymore. I either use a PS2 or I have a number of other PlayStation, this model PlayStation, and even PS1s that I use instead. Got a couple of neat little other trinkets with it here. I've still got a sealed original PlayStation DualShock. I wonder if this is worth anything. I never had the need to use that. And I also got this neat little accessory at the time. This is a DeX drive. And what this basically is a device that would hook up to your computer's serial port, which is now not USB, the old RS-232 serial port. And you could plug your memory cards into it and save the files to a PC. And I used this just a couple of times with my Final Fantasy VII save games and stuff like that. But it's kind of a neat little thing to have. It'll work in Windows, but it's probably Windows 3.1. It's probably out of date right now, and it probably only works with a really old computer. But
good thing you still have one.
yeah, good thing I still have a really old computer. That's true. So then we also have this boxed PlayStation.
Yes, this one. Ooh. It even has the screen. Wow. We were shopping. I don't know, just because that's what we used to do when it was just us, and we were about to move cross country. So we saw this, and we were like, oh, we totally need this for the car ride. You know, everybody needs one for their car ride.
Yeah, we were driving from Oregon
to Pennsylvania. Yeah, so that was quite a long car ride. So we needed something to do. And so we bought this, and you mostly played it.
I mostly played it while she would drive. We'd switch off driving, but when she would drive, I'd play it.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy V.
Yep. Yeah.
On the Final Fantasy Anthology.
Yeah, and how was that game?
Well, so she knows, I never finished it. Yeah. I played it on the car ride, and then we got to Pennsylvania, and we were busy unpacking and doing a bunch of other stuff, so I never actually finished the game.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
But it's cool to have this now, because with the screen and everything, I mean, we bought it for the car ride.
We find these a lot with the screen.
But the screens are hard to come by. And of course, we've got it, you know, complete, new in box. This is our original.
I mean, this
and
is
we
portable,
have the card
right?
and everything.
You know, now it's portable.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much it for the hardware. That's pretty much it for the hardware. I do have a bunch of these other ones loose and stuff like that, and some more controllers. But the real interest of the collection is the software. So let's go ahead and switch to that. As you can see on the table, we've got some of the working designs, some of the deluxe working designs. This is Lunar 1 and 2. I'll show more details of these. I'm not going to open them here, but we'll show more details of what these are. I bought these new, and everything's in there. With the exception of the games and maybe the soundtrack, I didn't really use anything, so it's all in really good shape. But I have played through both of these games. I knew about them at the time. I knew that they were really good Sega CD games, but I didn't have a Sega CD yet. I didn't get my Sega CD until like 2000. And this game came out in 1999, and I forget when this one came out, if it was 2000. I might have had a Sega CD by then, but I definitely wanted to play the remastered Lunar games. And right before we moved to Pittsburgh, so this would have been about 2002, I think, the Arc the Lad collection came out. And I don't know very much about this series, and I've never really played the game, but I figured it's working designs and it's this deluxe package. And it came with so many RPGs, Arc the Lad 1, 2, 3, some battle arena game, that I wanted to get this. So I'm glad in retrospect that I did get these things. These are mine. I'm the original owner for all of these. To show you the rest of my collection. Now this isn't everything. This is just sort of the highlights. It's probably about 2/3 or maybe 3/5. We'll go with 3/5. It's about 60%, not 66%. But anyway, these are the highlights of the collection, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through what I've got and give you an idea of the kind of games I've been collecting for the PlayStation. So we'll start with alphabetical order. We'll just start with Activision Classic. Now, the only reason I'm mentioning this game is because I've been missing this game for the last 13 years. We moved to Pittsburgh and I packed all my stuff away. And apparently what I had done was I had noticed that in my Lethal Enforcers for the Sega CD, there was a slot for a CD case. And since I had put Lethal Enforcers in a Sega CD case, the tall box, it was empty. So I stuffed this in there to protect it. And then never looked at Lethal Enforcers again until I made my Sega CD YouTube video a few months ago, opened it up, and found this game that I had been missing for the last 13 years. So glad to find this again. And it's kind of weird touching it because it hasn't been touched by human hands other than mine for 13 years. So anyway, I have the Activision Classics. Okay. Alondra. Another Working Designs title. This is one that my brother purchased when he first got his PlayStation, which was about a year before mine. And I actually bought it many years later, probably about 6 years ago now. It's not, I don't know if I think there's supposed to be a map, and I don't have the map, but anyway, another Working Designs game, Alondra. I'm looking forward to trying that one out. Haven't ever played it. And of course, the classic Castlevania Symphony of the Night. When I bought my PlayStation, this was at a Greatest Hits already, and so I bought the Greatest Hits version. But my brother, who had bought his PlayStation a year earlier, had the black label. And so when he got rid of his stuff, he gave me the black label, and so I took that. And then along with that, I also have the Castlevania Chronicles, which is remade versions of Castlevania 1. So these are the two Castlevania games I have for the PlayStation. RPGs. PlayStation's a great RPG system. In fact, I consider the PlayStation 2 to be one of the greatest RPG systems because it has good PlayStation 2 RPGs and you can play PlayStation 1 RPGs on it. This being one of them, Chrono Cross. This is the sequel to Chrono Trigger. I can't remember if I had played Chrono Trigger at the time that I bought this or not, but certainly I knew it was a famous RPG, and I wasn't going to go without getting Chrono Cross. And this is one that I have actually played. Crash series. I have all 3 of the Crash games. They're all greatest hits. Because I bought them, because I got into the PlayStation in 1999, many of the games had already, gone to greatest hits. So I do have quite a few greatest hits, though I did try to avoid getting the greatest hits for some of the really good RPGs and stuff like that. Crash Team Racing also. Dragon Warrior 7, another RPG. Classic. Einhander. Actually got this on eBay probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, well after I'd moved on from the PlayStation. But this is always one that I had heard about. It's a shooter. It's by Square. It's complete. There is some water damage on it, which you can't tell from an eBay picture. But when I do buy on eBay, I always bid on stuff that has the actual picture of the item, not stock pictures. But there is some water damage on this, but not too bad. So great game there. Final Fantasy VII. Why don't we just do them all?
Yeah.
8, 9. So the 3 main. That's good for now. The 3 main the 3 numbered Final Fantasy games original to the PlayStation. There's not much to say about this. This one I originally bought this on PC because I didn't have a PlayStation when the Final Fantasy VII came out, and eventually I decided when I got the PlayStation that I had to get it for the PlayStation because that was the original platform. The version I have, apparently, I don't know if it's more rare or not, but it's got a typo or it's got an error, a printing error on it. There's the word masterpiece is on the back here, and the I has been moved over and shifted up. So it's got an error on the back. And I was actually talking to somebody and they're saying, oh yeah, that's it's like a coin with a flaw in it, right? With a minting flaw. They seem like they're more valuable. I'm not sure that's true, but it always kind of bugged me that there was that flaw in it. So I do have the 3 numbered Final Fantasy games in Black Label. And then I also have the Anthology, which is Final Fantasy 5 and 6. Now this is the first version of 5 that came out in the US. And 6 is better known as Final Fantasy 3 to those of you Super Nintendo fans. This is the Final Fantasy 5 I was playing in the car on the ride from Oregon to Pittsburgh. And then later they also came out with the Final Fantasy Chronicles, which has Final Fantasy 4, and then of course it has Chrono Trigger. So there's only one Final Fantasy game on here. But and then more Final Fantasy Origins 1 and 2. This includes Final Fantasy 1 and 2. So on the PlayStation, it is possible to play Final Fantasies 1 through 9, except 3, missing 3. You can play 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, so that was cool. I was glad to have that. And then Final Fantasy Tactics. Now, I bought this after it was already, a sought-after game, or it was kind of become a classic. But before they announced they were going to reprint it as a green label, as a greatest hits. So I bought it at a time when it was very expensive to get. And then shortly after I did, they made a green label version of it. And so my only solace in that is that I paid a bunch of money, but I did get the black label version of it. So that one's in good shape. Okay, moving on. Another RPG, Grandia. Just bought this, the Japanese version for the Sega Saturn, but this is the version I've actually played. So bought this at the same time I bought Final Fantasy VIII. So love the RPGs. And Gran Turismo, the game I bought with my PlayStation the day I bought it, just because I thought it would be cool to play Gran Turismo after seeing a car commercial. Not even a video game commercial, just a car commercial. And I was familiar with this game from when my brother had bought his PlayStation. All right, let's go quickly on. Incredible Crisis. This is sort of a cult game, and I don't know how well it's known. I was interested in this game, and then we happened to be at a Target, and I think I saw it for under $5, so I grabbed it. And I've never finished it, but it is kind of an interesting, quirky little Japanese game. Recommend it if you come across it. Another RPG, The Legend of Dragoon. Now this one I only bought because it was cheap, and unfortunately it was cheap because it was a green label, but I'm glad to have it regardless. It's one of the great RPGs for the PlayStation. And Metal Gear. This is a game I bought very quickly after I got my PlayStation. It was probably the next weekend. Metal Gear Solid, and then much later I got the VR missions just for completeness. But I have finished this game, fantastic. I have it for the GameCube too. I'm looking forward to playing it again on the GameCube. Parasite Eve, this is a game I'd like to get the sequel to. I think I recently bought this at a swap meet. Don't know much about it, but certainly I'd heard about Parasite Eve for the PlayStation. So. And then one of my favorite series of all time, R-Type and R-Types and R-Type Delta. Now R-Types comes with R-Type 1 and 2 that I think they're arcade perfect. And then R-Type Delta was a new version that came out in the fall of 1999. Love these games to death. Grew up with R-Type on the Master System. R-Type 2 is available kind of as Super R-Type on the Super Nintendo. R-Type Delta is brand new, 3D, fantastic. Just love both of these games. I was just very pleased that they were coming out with R-Type for the PlayStation. Other shooters, Raystorm. This is a 3D. It's 3D. It's polygon, but I'm not sure you could call it a 3D shoot 'em up. It's a shoot 'em up. There's a game that this is similar to, and I can't remember what it is. There's earlier games for I think even the Genesis that are in this series. I know there was another one for the PlayStation called Ray Crisis. Shoot, I'm gonna get that wrong. But anyway, this is a fantastic shooter, shoot 'em up. Also working designs. Okay, Resident Evil. Can't have a PlayStation without Resident Evil. By the time I got my PlayStation, Resident Evil were in greatest hits. So I have the 2 greatest hits version, Director's Cut and Resident Evil 2. I would have liked, now I wish I had gotten Resident Evil 3 for the PlayStation also, but at the time I had a Dreamcast, and so I just opted to get it for the Dreamcast. And that's what I've actually played it on. But for completeness, I'd like to have Resident Evil 3 for the PlayStation. Alright, oh, another survival horror, Silent Hill. Glad to have this. At the time I was looking for this, I think it was a little bit hard to come by. I may have ordered this directly from Konami. Got the Black Label version, so I'm happy about that. I have never played the Silent Hill game. I have Silent Hill 2. I don't think I have 3 or 4, but I do have Silent Hill 2, which I think I've heard is one of the best ones. So looking forward to trying that out. Soul Blade, another game that I bought with my PlayStation. It's greatest hits, but this was sort of, to me, we had a friend who was really into this game at the time, and this was sort of a quintessential PlayStation game. So, and of course, it got me into Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, which is a fantastic game. Spyro series, all 3 again, greatest hits. I'm not sure what to say about these. I bought this one first, and then later on, I found the other 2 for cheap, and so we've actually played all 3 of these.
Yeah, we have.
I really enjoyed the Spyro games. They're simple. They're not too hard. It's clear what the goals are. I think we got pretty close to 100%. I know there were some things that you could do in Spyro 2, some special, I'd call them achievements, but that's kind of what they're like, that we didn't really do. But
we should show the girls that.
Spyro? They know Spyro from Skylanders, right? But this is the real, this is the original game that Spyro first showed up in. Yeah. Street Fighter Collection. Don't know much about Street Fighter, but couldn't resist the packaging of Super Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And then I have Street Fighter 2 Turbo, not the Super versions, right? So just Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Turbo for the Super Nintendo. And there was another collection that had those too, but I figured with the Super Nintendo and the Genesis versions, I didn't need those. So this collection is kind of neat to have. Strider 2. Bought this again because it's, you know, it's Strider. Strider's a classic. It came with both Strider 1 and 2. And for those of you who don't know, there is a printing error. Strider 2 is actually on the disc marked Strider, and Strider 1, the original arcade version, I don't know how this opens. Strider 1 is actually on the disc marked Strider 2. So if that happened to your version, rest assured, I think it's happened to everybody's. All right, moving on. Strikers 1945, another shoot 'em up. Love the shoot 'em ups. No. If you are looking for shoot 'em ups on the PlayStation, check into 1945. It's a 2D, just a, you know, a 2D graphics version. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, classic puzzle game, highly recommended. I'm not sure what it's based on. Maybe it's based on, I forget, Puyo Puyo or something like that. But it can be competitive as you clear gems from your side. It'll drop gems on your opponent's side, and you can knock them out that way. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. Treasures of the Deep. Now this is one that I had heard about from Game Informer at the time, and it came out about the time Final Fantasy VII came out, so it was an overlooked game. But it's kind of interesting. It's underwater. This is one that my brother bought, so I grabbed it from him when he got rid of his PlayStation stuff. All right, we've done these. All right, so coming to the end of the pile here, Tomb Raider. Now I've done something unusual here. I have Tomb Raider 1 and 2 greatest hits, but then I bought 3 forgetting that I had them greatest hits, and so it kind of mismatches.
Kind of bugs you?
Kinda, not a lot, just a little. I don't know what to do about it. I probably won't do anything about it, but I figured Tomb Raider was one of those quintessential games on the PlayStation. It kind of was one of the new IPs that came out in that era, so I thought I should get the Tomb Raider series. And okay, so another great RPG, Vagrant Story. This is another game by Square. This never got a sequel. It just kind of was a one-off game. I've started it a couple times, but I never played it long enough to get into it. It's still on my wish list of games to play, but it's sort of one of those one-off RPGs by Square that it's just it's a great game, and it's a great game to have for the PlayStation. Wipeout XL. One of my favorite racers of all time. This is another game that I had on the PC. When I bought my PC, and I bought a new PC in 1997, and I bought a 3DFX Voodoo card, the Voodoo 1. And I went out and bought Wipeout XL to play on it because I had seen this game on my friend's PlayStation. When I did finally get a PlayStation in 1999, I had to get the PlayStation version because that just seemed like the original version to me. So I do have the other Wipeout games, but this is my favorite. And then finally, Xenogears. I can't remember. I mean, I remember getting this at like a Babbage's or something, and it was cheap, and I remember hearing about it. I've never played this game. I know it's a little unusual. I know it's a little controversial. I think different people will say that Disc 2. There's something about Disc 2 that maybe it's more movie than game, but I'm really glad to have this, and I have the Xeno Saga for the PlayStation 2. Different company, but that was done by Namco, but I think they're related, so have to play this one first. Haven't played this one yet, but I'm glad I have it. So that's it. That's kind of the highlights as I see it of my PlayStation collection. A lot of RPGs. I was a big fan of RPGs.
You forgot one.
What's that?
Where's my Tigger's Honey Hunt?
Damn, I forgot Tigger's Honey Hunt. I can't believe
Honey
it.
Hunt.
So talk about Tigger's Honey Hunt. Not for me.
We were just shopping, and I was like, I don't know. I kind of like Winnie the Pooh kind of a thing, and I was like, oh, let's get this. And wasn't it only like $4?
I think it was only a couple of dollars, and it was at the time that I bought Incredible Crisis. So
yeah,
we had just gotten married, and we were living together, and she was like, oh, I want a game for the PlayStation, and so Tigger's Honey Hunt. So
yeah, I got that.
We have Tigger's Honey Hunt.
I played it.
Yeah, I've got a couple of goofy. I think I have a Smurf game too that I got at Goodwill, but I don't consider those to be the big deal.
You're always
big deal. For a while there, it bugged me that I had this what I consider really pristine, just really awesome collection for PlayStation, and then there was Tigger's Honey Hunt sitting there, and I was like, oh, geez, this is wrecking my whole collection. But I don't worry about that kind of stuff anymore. So anyway, that's the stuff I've been collecting for the PlayStation. A lot of RPGs, shoot 'em ups, and some of the classic series. So I think that's it. So thanks for watching.
Thanks. If you enjoyed our video, like us and subscribe.